Well, hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Real Estate Investing. I'm your host, Sharon Vornholt, and I'm so happy you're tuning in today. My guest today is Nathan Payne. Nathan is a real estate investor. He's a mentor and a wholesaler who has cash buyers in every state. So you're going to want to really listen into this one. Welcome to the show, Nathan.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
So tell me a little bit about how you got started.
Yeah, so I had a lot of sales experience and background. While I was in college, I did door-to-door sales. I knocked doors for satellite TV. I sold DirecTV and Dish Network, and then
Whoa.
I did that for my. Oh, sorry, what were you gonna say?
I said, whoa.
Yeah, it was fun. A lot of fun experiences you have when you're knocking doors. But I did that for while I was going to college, and then after college, I was like, well, I don't think I want to knock doors for the rest of my life, even though the money's good and it was a decent lifestyle. It's just very transient. But that was the only downside I really thought. It was just transient. You're always moving around. So I was like, well, what can I do to make good money that I don't have to move around? And real estate was just what I had thought of. So it's not like I had any prior, desire to do real estate. It's just something I thought of when I went into it. I just went both feet in.
So how long have you been doing this now?
I've been doing it for a little over 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Door knocking, that is something, it's kind of, for me, it's kind of like cold calling. It's something that I really, really hate to do. So
yes.
I give you big congratulations on doing that. That is not something that I find even remotely fun. Did you start out with wholesaling, or did you try other strategies? How did that all happen?
Directly went into wholesaling. So I started my business. I quit doing door to door, and I reached out to one of my buddies that was a roommate in college. I said, hey, because he's actually the one who introduced me to real estate and wholesaling and lease options. He was doing it a little bit in college. So we moved here to Utah after college. We went to school in BYU, Idaho, in Rexburg, Idaho. And then I was like, hey, let's get into real estate. So we just went in. Our wives at the time were both married, so they worked. So we were able to quit our jobs and kind of have that safety net. And we just went in with $0, no money for leads, no prior experience. And we just said, hey, we're going to find a deal and we're going to wholesale it. And we actually went knocking. And we actually knocked doors and cold called. That's what we did. And we got like one of our first deals from knocking and cold calling. So it works.
That was going to be my next question. So you actually took your sales skills and you actually did cold calling and door knocking, and that's how you got your first few deals?
That's correct. Yeah, we door knocked, and if people didn't answer, we would flyer doors. We would target areas where we felt like there was good investor activity, and we would cold call expired listings, and just worked really hard, and did pretty well. I think we did like $96,000 within our first 6 months, which is good for beginners.
No, that's good. That's good at any level for 6 months. I mean, unless you're in California and you're making big dollar deals, that is a great start. So let me ask you this. Some things are the same, whether you're a wholesaler or a rehabber or a buy and hold landlord. You have to have lead generation strategies. So other than door knocking and cold calling, what types of marketing are you doing today? Are they the same or are they different?
Oh, they're very different now that I've experienced. So after door knocking, cold calling, that was something that I obviously didn't want to do forever. So I tried to get into other lead gen. I've done everything. I've done texting, cold calling, email, pay-per-click, mail, RVM, ringless voicemail. I've tried it all. And the fact of the matter that it all works if you just do enough and you get better at your strategy, right? But today, what I do now, because I have a larger community, I leverage my network. I actually do a lot of deals through JVing through other wholesalers that don't have the buyers that I do or the relationships that I do, which doesn't cost me any money on marketing, which is nice. And I do a lot of deals on the MLS where it doesn't cost me money. So my goal now is to do less deals spend less money and do more deals. That's my goal.
Okay. Yes. Also a goal of mine was to do less deals, but more profitable deals. You get a little bit tighter, niche down. And I think you can do that if you get your marketing right, if you know who your ideal person is that you're marketing to. So did you try direct mail for very long?
We did. When we first started, that's actually what we joined a coaching program maybe after like 3 or 4 months of trying it. And then we did direct mail. We spent like $10,000 in mail, didn't get a deal. And then, after doing more research, we found out that like Utah is pretty competitive. Salt Lake City is pretty competitive for mail. So I think it hits different in different markets. That's why it's it wasn't the best for us. We did get a deal from it, but yeah, I haven't done too much mail just because it's expensive and it hasn't been the best for us here in Utah.
Well, sounds like you went in and did a large volume of mail. Direct mail is, I've done a lot of direct mail in my time. And you have to have, number one, you have to have a good list. You can't just mail to everybody. So you have to have a very niche down list. But you just pointed out something. You did it for about 3 months. Is that what you said? Okay.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Statistically, this is just for your information. 81% of your deals will come at or beyond your 5th mailing. You build that pipeline and then you're adding new leads every month, but 90% of your competition will quit on or before the 3rd mailing. So direct mail is like you're building this pipeline of leads. And I would never tell anybody to spend $10,000 on mail. Start small, start with 1,000 leads or 800 leads, but mail consistently to them every month. And I hate that happened to you because you're no doubt a real hustler, but whoever was teaching you direct mail, they totally dropped the ball on that one with you. That's just, that's kind of the heart.
I know. Right. So that's kind of put the sour taste in my mouth, but what you're saying, I agree with you 100%. Like if you are very direct with your marketing and you're niche down, unfortunately, a lot of coaches just to pull like an absentee owner list or like the whole state of Utah or like to mail them.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. So very difficult to get a deal. If you have to send a lot of mail and it didn't work out for us. So I would recommend anyone that's listening, please do not do that. Do not just pull a giant list of everyone in Utah rental and then mail it because you're going to spend a lot of money.
Yeah. So today, what are you focused on mainly today then?
As a real estate investor?
As far as your marketing, how do you get your deals today?
So right now, most of the deals that I get are from the MLS and look for deals that So if anybody that's listening that doesn't know what the MLS is, it's the multiple listing services where agents list their homes. So we reach out. I have a CRM that automatically like sends out offers for me, and we go through and talk to agents and make offers where we can double dip with people and with agents and say, hey, if you can represent me, I'm unrepresented. So agents, and then JVing, which is from other wholesalers in my community that do not know how to wholesale, or they don't have a buyer and they have a decent deal. We do a lot of JVing as well. So those are the two main ways
the two main ones. That was what I was trying to get at. What are the two main ones? Okay. So let's talk a little bit about number one, building that community. Let's start there. How did you go about building the community where people wanted to bring you deals?
Yeah. So what I teach is called Payneless wholesaling. What I teach is like the most important thing when you get started is developing relationships with the top buyers in your market. So you have a good foundation and you know what people are buying. When I first started, I just knocked doors, right? And I wouldn't recommend anyone just to be like, hey, just go knock a random neighborhood or door. You don't know if anyone's buying in that neighborhood. You don't know what people want. You don't even know what to offer. And if you do get someone that says yes, then you're like, well, I guess I got to run comps and do all this work. So what I do and why my community has grown is because I have established buy boxes, relationships with buyers. And I say, hey, if you have deals, because I've done what I teach, I've developed these relationships where without even having the house under contract, I can just call my buyers. I can ask them what they're willing to pay. I can ask them to run comps for me. And then I make the offer for what they've already kind of given me that works for them. And I just go a little bit lower to make my fee. So that's I would say that's how I built my community, and also just being generous and just giving as much information as possible. I feel like that's how people grow their communities as well.
I think this is really goes down the road of knowing your numbers too. I wholesaled for a long time, and if you do not know your numbers, you're not going to be in business long, because people are your buyers, your end buyers, who are always investors, almost always investors in my world. They're going to not trust you after a while if you can't give them an actual deal, if you don't actually know your numbers.
Agree. And I think that's the problem when I first started, and when I with most wholesalers, is they'll just lock up anything. They'll just try to get it under contract. They'll waste their time, they'll waste the seller's time. I know, because I get tons of deals sent to me that they have under contract and they're not deals. So I have to say, hey, you got to renegotiate this. You're sometimes $100,000 above where it even makes sense. And just imagine the amount of time wholesalers and people that do this waste by negotiating, talking, following up, and then getting someone under contract at the wrong price. It's the wrong way to do it. That's why I call it painless wholesaling, because it's painful to just go without knowledge and get something under contract and just hope you can find a buyer for it. It's a waste of time.
So if I'm understanding you are educating these people. I heard you say, go back and renegotiate the deal, because that's really how they learn that they've messed up. And not a lot of people are willing to do that, to teach them that.
Yeah. So what I teach is I say, hey, look, before you, start lead gen and spending money, I would recommend going to get a local mentor in your market if you're not in the market that I'm in, and finding your buyers and finding out the criteria that they want, and then leveraging their experience to help you make that offer. So let me give you an example. I'm a brand new wholesaler. I don't know anything. So I reach out to, I go to a meetup and I meet a couple buyers and I say, hey, look, I'm brand new to wholesaling. I'm brand new to real estate investing, but I have a lot of drive. And if I find an opportunity for you, I'd love to see what you'd be willing to pay for it so I could get it negotiated for you. And they'd say, okay, well, yeah, let me know what you got. And then you would say, well, what are you looking for so I can go out and go acquire that deal? Are you looking to buy in specific areas? How many bedrooms and baths? What year? Like, try to find the buy box. Once you understand what that buyer wants, whether you can meet them at the meetup or through a title company or any of the strategies I teach, then you have a good idea of what you're trying to find. Let's say you're talking to a seller or an agent and they have a property that meets that buyer's criteria. You can call that buyer and say, hey, I think I got something. Where would this make sense for you? They run the comp. You don't have to worry about it. They'll take care of it. They'll maybe even teach you. And then you go back and they say they can buy for 300,000. You go to the agent or the seller and say, hey, I can do this at 290. You sign the contract, you wholesale it to the buyer that's willing to pay 300,000. You just made $10,000, all without having to try and figure out all this on your own. That's what I do a lot, and that's what I teach.
Okay, so you do a little bit differently than I did. I knew where exactly my buyers would buy, so you only need a handful of buyers if you're working in a single market. Actual buyers that are the business people. And once you know what they buy, I would go ahead and just lock up the deal. I would get the property into contract, and then just call them up. So similar thing.
Well, you pretty much do the same thing I'm saying. You had the buyers, you know what they would buy, right? Most people don't have buyers. Yeah. Most people are taught to just go out and find a deal. That's right. Like how most of the conventional wisdom is hey, just start cold calling, just pull a list, start cold calling, start knocking, kind of like what I did, or just mail. And then you're in trouble when you find a deal or you find an opportunity and you're like, well, I don't know what someone will pay. I don't have buyers. And that's why JVing is so prevalent. Like, that happens a lot, is because people will just lock up properties because that's what they're told to do without knowing who's going to buy it. It happens all the time in the wholesaling industry.
It's smart. My RIA here is pretty big, at any given time between 500 and 700 people. So there are a lot of investors, and there are so many people that are in that position. They have found a deal and then they have absolutely no clue what to do with it. Same thing with a rental property. They get a rental property and they do not know the first thing about managing that property, nor have they even given cash flow a single thought once they bought it. So it's a hard education. It's called college, a very costly college if you start losing money that way.
Agreed. Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
The reason I'm just so passionate, the reason I'm just so passionate about it is because that's how I started. I started just finding deals first. And luckily, because of my sales skills, I was able to make it out. But I talked to too many people who join programs like I did that just say, spend $10,000 on mail, hire a cold calling team. And then when those leads come in, they just don't know what to do with them.
Right. Exactly. It's so sad because you've spent all that money on really one half of the business, not knowing what to do with the other half of it.
Exactly.
What would you say have been your biggest challenges as a wholesaler?
I would say marketing in the beginning was one of my biggest issues because, again, we were so focused on finding deals. And then once we acquired them, we struggled to disposition or find the buyers for them. Because we went I think 2 or 3 years ago, we went nationwide, which means, we turned on our marketing, pay-per-click marketing all over the United States. So we were getting deals all over the country. But the problem that came with that was, well, we got to start finding buyers everywhere.
Yeah.
And we tried to solve that issue with buying lists, text blasting, email blasting, talking to agents. It just created a whole bunch of different problems. So marketing and not understanding how important it was the second half of the business of knowing what people are buying and having those already relationships so you can just get rid of your deals. That was a big issue that I had. That was one of the biggest issues. So that's why I'm so passionate again.
How did you find those buyers though? What was your mechanism for finding actual buyers? That's a tough one.
It was very tough. It was a lot of work. So what we would do is we would pull lists from Batch Leads and other platforms of buyers who had purchased a property within the last year, cash buyers, and we would text blast them. We would email them and we would cold call them. And we would say, hey, we have a deal. Would you like to look at it? We notice that you're potentially a cash buyer. We bought a list to solve the issue, like a giant nationwide list of buyers. And we would, again, you have to reach out to these people. You don't know them. You had to email them, text them. We bought a software called Investor Lift that apparently or supposedly has all these buyers that are ready to go. And, as we were doing this consistently for a couple of years, we realized that relationships are really what gets deals done quickly. If you do not have a relationship, for example, if I have a deal and I just find your number on a list and I text you, the chances of you texting me back because we just don't know each other and you trusting that I have a good deal, it's pretty slim just because you're busy. I'm busy. And that's how we were trying to dispose. So again, a lot of issues came from that, but that's how we would sell our deals.
I think with wholesaling in particular, we always think of it as kind of a hustle. It's a hustle, which is not something you can keep up forever because at some point you have to start to build systems and build a business. Right. So let's talk a little bit. You sound like you've been down that path. We've all been one-man shows at one time or another.
Right.
But where did you start when it comes to building your business? I would say something to do with dispositions. You obviously added some sort of software in there because lost leads gets to be a huge problem if you don't have a CRM. You've got Post-it notes stuck up, and that's no way to run your business.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So this is kind of where my business is, just so where you everybody knows that's listening. I ran the model before the market, I guess you could say, shifted, the interest rates went up. I was doing, the pay-per-click. I had 10 cold callers. We were bringing in leads and we were doing deals. Interest rates went up. Our acquisition guys, they're virtual assistants actually from Colombia, they weren't getting as many deals. And my business partner was kind of annoyed with the process of the business. So he's like, hey, I'm just not interested in running this anymore. So what I did is I said, hey, okay, it's just me. And what's the most efficient way that I can get deals without having to spend all this marketing? So what I did is it's me and a virtual assistant. And what we do is we look at deals that come across Facebook. We look at deals that come on our communities, and we make offers on MLS deals that meet our buyer's criteria. And it's as simple as you make an offer, and if it makes sense, we already have the buyer and it's done. So my company isn't like some large organization like I used to have. It's just me and a virtual assistant. We do 1 to 3 deals a month, and that's good for me. I keep more profit. I keep more money than having all that overhead that I used to have. And it's a better lifestyle for me as well.
I agree. So this would be a point where and you probably already do this, but focus on the spread in your deals, because if you're, would you say your average wholesale fee is in the 10,000 range?
Yeah, the average wholesale fee we had was about $12,000 when when we were doing, because we would get some in the Midwest that weren't as big as some in the West Coast, like California or Utah. But yeah, I would say that's right around 12,000.
That seems to be kind of an average. So if you're doing 1 to 3 deals a month, and you can get each deal up even $2,000, that became a focus of mine, is getting a little bit more out of each deal. Then over the period of a year, you can increase your income pretty significantly. And that will also allow you, if you wanted to start some sort of marketing, to have the money to do that easily.
Agreed. And I think marketing is excellent. It's just, you have to have the systems and processes and the people in place that will do the follow-up, because mainly when you do marketing, follow-up is key. People aren't always answering their phone or text. So you got to be repeatedly trying to get in front of them when, so everybody else is as well. So I'll probably get back more into marketing, but I get enough opportunities from the MLS and from JVing at the moment that I'm good.
That sounds like you've got that one nailed down. Let's talk a little bit about your competition, and how do you stand out in a crowded field? Because I don't care where you live, you're going to have competition. Some is good, some is not so good. But the key is, I always say, marketing is how you get leads, but branding is why they choose you. So how do you get them to choose you over the sea of other competitors out there?
It's a great question. So with the MLS, when you're getting deals on market, I would say showing them that you're responsive, like communicating well, and also showing that you're like a legit business. You're showing them that you can perform, that you have performed. Agents don't want to go under contract with someone that they can't trust that can get it done, because that's going to reflect bad on them. So I would say that's like how I stand out, is my communication is on point. We send our what is it called? That you have proof of funds. I'm sorry.
Yeah, proof of
funds. We friend request the agents. We try to go above and beyond to set ourselves apart from just anyone else that makes an offer. When it comes to JVing and how I set myself apart from other JVing people, is we're pretty responsive as well. If a deal is not a deal for someone, we tell them why it's not and how they should go renegotiate it. And when it comes to working with off-market sellers, like if I get a deal from marketing or someone brings me something and I need to negotiate for them, I would say like my sales skill sets you apart, like being able to hop on a Zoom call, address their concerns, offer them options. I'm not just making an offer that like a lowball cash offer and just hoping I get the offer. I offer, terms, creative financing, novation. There's just so many different ways. And if none of my offers work, I'll recommend them to an agent or a contractor that can help them flip it or list it.
Yeah, that was always my take on it. If I wasn't able to help them, or if I wasn't their best option and I knew that they could list it or whatever and get a better offer, I was the first person to tell them that, because it all comes back to your reputation in the business. Everything hinges around your reputation and whether or not you do what you say you're going to do, and whether you're in this business to be a problem solver for people. That's what we do. We solve problems.
Right.
So there's never a time when a shortcut is going to benefit you in the long term. I firmly believe that.
Never. Shortcuts never benefit you. And so it's been fun to learn the business and set myself apart through the sales skills and really trying to benefit people, even if it's not going to immediately benefit me. Because in all reality, it always does. If you always have people's best interests in mind, it always comes back to you. Whether you feel better, you have a better, belief in yourself, it always works out.
So, Nathan, what are your goals for the next 12 months for your business? I know you've got a new baby coming. That's going to change things up a bit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So my goals, so in my real estate business, I'm actually focusing on acquiring multifamily right now and wholesaling multifamily. That's what we're making offers on that are on the MLS. And I have some partners right now that, source leads and then I negotiate them. We're working on a deal in Colorado right now. So that's the goal is to multifamily, actually, my strategy is to wholesale it to investors and keep a piece of the equity of the property. So, for example, I just did an Airbnb in Florida where I wholesaled it, but I also kept 10% ownership equity of the property. And I don't have to do anything at this point. I just found it. So they're giving me ownership. And that's the same thing I'm doing with apartment complexes. I don't want to be a landlord having to deal with all that, but I will find the deal. I'll take a fee that's reasonable and then be a part owner and just to be part of the deal. So that's my goal.
I know somebody's going to ask us this. Where do you find multifamily property? So they were talking about 1 to 4 units to wholesale or larger ones.
For me, we're focusing on anything from 1 to 6, 1 to 12, 1 to 16.
1 to 12.
Yeah.
And where are you looking for those?
On the MLS. We're mainly
just on the
Yeah, we're looking for deals unless we're making cash offers. Also, from one of my partners, he has a website where he's running pay-per-click ads to his website, and his website is for, give you an offer on your apartment complex. So those are the 2 ways. And then obviously you can look and you network and say, hey, I'm looking for deals and JV as well. So that's what I'm doing.
So you're not looking on sites like LoopNet or any of those?
Not at the moment.
Okay. That's interesting. Well, this is great advice, Nathan. What final advice would you have for someone that's trying to get in the business that doesn't really know what they're doing? Tell them how you can help them.
Yeah, of course. So I actually teach a master class every Thursday for free. It's you can get to it through my Facebook group, which is called Payneless Wholesaling Group on Facebook, or you can just go to paynlesswholesaling.com. And what I teach is how to get into the business and establish a foundation that's like firm, that whether you're brand new or you've been in it for a while and maybe you don't feel like you have like the best foundation where if you left your business, it would keep going. But that's what I teach. And I would suggest that everyone, if you're brand new, you need to connect and get next to someone that's doing deals. You need to find out what people are buying in your market, and don't make the mistake that a lot of people do. And what I did is just calling a list and hoping you'll get a deal, because you could pass up on many deals, but you just wouldn't know. And you could waste a lot of time with someone that has a property that no one even wants to buy because it's in the wrong part of town. So that's what I would recommend is understand your market, learn from people that are doing it, and have them help you succeed. And I teach people how to find those right people so you're not wasting your time.
Okay, excellent. So the best ways to get in touch with you are through Payneless Wholesaling, your website and your Facebook group, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Both of those, you'll be able to get a hold of me, and we're here to help. That's my goal. And again, I'll say it again. I'm very passionate because I see a lot of people fail in wholesaling and real estate investing because they spend all their money thinking that maybe it's that simple as just pulling a list and mailing it or cold calling it, when there's a lot more that comes into play.
Yes, there are a lot of pieces and a lot of parts to building a business. And I think Nathan is an excellent example that you don't have to have a lot of money to get started. Is it easier if you have money? 100%. But the reality of it is that most investors, when they're just getting started, they don't have a lot of money. And you remind me a lot of people that are, this is definitely before your time, but it's called Guerrilla Marketing, the book Guerrilla Marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I love that book because it's about ways to do things that are not just money driven. It's the scrappy hustler type of way of getting in the trenches and doing things. So that's a great book. If you haven't read that book, for anybody listening here.
Yeah. Love it. I'll have to give it a shot. I know the concept, but no, very true. I'm very guerrilla, and it's not something that can scale always, but I'm not telling people that they need to scale their business doing these tactics. To get started, learn the foundation, and then scale with processes, systems, and spending money.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Nathan, again for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me again.
And thanks to all the listeners for coming out today and also week after week. Please share share the show and leave us a rating and a review. I know you love this show because Nathan has provided a ton of value. I would really appreciate it. And I will see you same time, same place next week. Bye for now.